confirms, saying yes, they already had all their seats filled. Yeo-un asks if he picked him as his backup plan. Yumpa agrees, and on top of that, they share the path of the blade. Yeo-un acknowledges that. Yumpa clarifies that he is not asking him to accept him as his subordinate. He is simply asking for the young master to use him in order to pass the third test and asks if he will please accept him. Yeo-un hesitates. Yumpa kneels down and thanks him. Yeo-un refuses. Yumpa asks what? Yeo-un repeats that he refuses and moves to leave from there. While running, he instructs Nano to provide facial analysis results. The nanomachine notifies him that it is loading the results of the facial analysis. He reflects that it can't perfectly detect lies, but it was the right move to activate it when he thought something was off. Yes, they already have all their seats filled. The nanomachine notifies him that there is a small change in his facial muscles, indicating a 45% chance that he is lying. He reiterates that he is simply asking for the young master to use him in order to pass the third test. The nanomachine reports that his muscles continue to twitch, and the chance that he is lying has gone up to 62%. He thinks he was only playing it safe since it was still just a chance. He recalls a memory when he said they were walking the path of the blade, and Pamia agreed, saying yes, and on top of that, they shared the path of the blade. He reflects that they are pursuing the blade, yet he only went to the Dark and Sword Clan candidates, cleverly omitting the Blade Clan. He must think he is a fool. Meanwhile, Chin-Yu-chan from the Sword Clan asks Yumpa if he refused after listening to the information on the third test. He laughs and remarks seriously, stating that he's such an interesting fellow. He got what he wanted and dipped. He knew he would not fall for such an obvious trap. Yumpa inquires about the plan. He asks if he is going to go crawling back and beg him to take him in, and if he thinks he's that stupid. Yumpa denies it. He explains that it involves joining his group and then disqualifying him by leaving the group on the day of the test. If it went as he planned, it would have been funny, but it'd be a waste for him to get disqualified over such a small thing. If he were not a rival in the Battle of the Airs, he would do whatever he could to recruit him. Yumpa kneels down and pleads for another chance, stating that he still has other plans. He says no, but reassures that it's fine. He doesn't have to proceed any further. Before it's too late, he should find a group to join, or perhaps he will even become a group leader. Yumpa attempts to say something but is interrupted by laughter, and he remarks that there are already a few guys besides him that need to be sorted out. He mentions that he has no use for someone who is useless, so Yumpa is told to leave. Yumpa cries and moves away from there. He believes he defeated him in one blow, realizing that his skills, which he had seen a few days ago, were not at that level. This perplexes him, but he acknowledges that only time will tell if it was luck or skill. Meanwhile, Yeo-un sits inside his room and thinks about the 11 prodigies. It's not certain since the academy head has not said anything yet, but what if it's true? He considers some from Group 8, but it's not enough people, and there's no guarantee that they will follow him. He decides he should finish his training for the day and think about it more back at the dorms. He asks Nano if he has finished analyzing the martial arts books they had scanned yesterday on the first and second floors of the library. The nanomachine notifies that yes, it has completed analysis on the 55 beginner martial arts books on the first floor and the 56 intermediate martial arts books on the second floor. He wonders if it would be possible to make a hologram of a specific person after analyzing their kai and body movements and then make the hologram reenact martial arts. The nanomachine indicates that it is possible if he selects the person as an avatar and specifies the martial arts. Considering the martial arts, let's go with the 5 arts of sword mastery for the person. He sees the Chenmu-Kiyum avatar, which appears in front of him through the nanomachine. The avatar challenges him. Yeo-un declines, stating that he will be the one to initiate the attack. The avatar accuses him of not knowing his place and moves to attack him. Yeo-un evades the attack and counterattacks. The nanomachine notifies that Chenmu-Kiyum's avatar has died from a neck fracture. He asks how, as just 4 days ago, he would have only been pushed back from such an attack. The avatar remarks that it's not bad, and warns that they will regret this, addressing him as a commoner punk. The nanomachine notifies that Chenmu-Kiyum's avatar could not withstand the full force of the master's attack. He considers if he has far surpassed Chenmu-Kiyum because of the realization. This was not what he had in mind. Even if he assigns an intermediate martial art to the avatar, it won't make much of a difference. He decides to create 5 Shenmue GM avatars, no, make it 10, and give each of them a different intermediate martial art. The nanomachine notifies that creating avatars for the simulation, the target models are 10 Shenmue Kyum, and the set martial arts are heaven-splitting flying sword, spinning kick, emotionless sword, triple killing sword, falling fist, fist of the horse, flying shadow fist, final emperor's fist, and great sunlight blade. He wonders if he is getting ahead of himself, and he thinks 10 might be too much. The avatar starts teasing him and asks if he is trying to provoke him. The other avatar declares that he is going to kick his ass. The other avatar abuses him and asks how dare he, as a commoner. The nanomachine inquires if it should readjust the number of avatars. He responds that there's no need, just to start it. He is going to kill them all. All avatars come to attack him simultaneously. He wonders if he will be attacked simultaneously and attempts to retaliate. He believes he blocked the first wave of attacks. However, the avatars attack him together with a technique, hitting him on the head and causing him to fall down. The nanomachine notifies that it is temporarily suspending augmented reality. He holds his head and remarks that it hurts, realizing he had forgotten how small this place was without augmented reality. He observes the ceiling starting to break. After a while, Im-pyong arrives and observes the ceiling, asking what he did to it. He feels pain in his head and warns him, banning him from using this individual training facility from now on. Yeo-un bows down and apologizes sincerely. He walks out, gesturing for him to follow. After passing a big ground, he takes him to a big room. Yeo-un thinks the building appears to be about half the size of the individual training facility, but the width of the door is much larger. Im-pyong declares that he shall train here from now on. Yeo-un asks what he means. Im-pyong explains that he'd just break the walls again if he kept using the individual training facility. Yeo-un asks where this is and remarks that it's much larger and more pleasant than the individual training facility. Im-pyong explains that it's a training facility that would normally only be available to those who reach the expert level and pass the 4th test. He mentions that of course Yeo-un has not passed the test yet, but since he has caused another incident, they've made this space available a little earlier with the academy head's approval. Yeo-un asks how Im-pyong knows that he has reached the level of an expert. Im-pyong responds that in order to break the hard walls of the individual training facility, he at least needs an expert level Kai. He touches the wall and mentions that these walls are made with an even harder material, so they should not break no matter how crazy he goes. Im-pyong tells him not to worry about it and to focus on his training. Yeo-un bows down and thanks him very much. After a while, Yeo-un observes the room and thinks that with a training room of this size, he should not have any problems using augmented reality. He asks Nano what time it is. The nanomachine notifies him that it's a little past 8 p.m. He remarks that he still has time then. He considers whether he should continue dueling against 10 Shenmue Kyum avatars since a single advanced martial artist is too weak. He asks Nano if he would be able to duel against Xiaobmeng Sensei's avatar. The nanomachine notifies him that it is possible if it's only based on the movements of the butterfly dance he showed them in the infirmary. He thinks that even if it's sensei and based only on the data from a single technique, he would be more helpful than Shenmue Kyum. The nanomachine notifies him that it is initiating augmented reality in the user's vision and asks if he will select a martial art. He decides to have him use the butterfly dance for now. The nanomachine notifies that it is creating an avatar for the simulation target model as Xiaobmeng, with the set martial arts being the butterfly dance. He reflects that even though it's just the avatar in front of him, this situation feels far more tense than with Shenmue Kyum's avatar. The Xiaobmeng avatar asks if he is now revolting against his sensei. He instructs Nano to please mute sensei next time. The nanomachine acknowledges the command. He explains that sensei is among the top 10 martial artists within the demonic clan. He moves to attack and thinks that he is no match for sensei in terms of martial proficiency, so he has to aim for his weakness with a preemptive attack. The Xiaobmeng avatar uses his blade. He notices that he blocked his techniques this easily. Xiaobmeng punches him in the face, causing him to bleed and fall behind. He utilizes the butterfly dance 3rd technique and the 7 dances of the butterfly to attack Yeo-un, causing him to fall behind. He acknowledges that he knew he would be no match for him, but he didn't expect to be down after just a single technique. He realizes that this is the skill of one of the top 10 martial artists in the demonic cult. The nanomachine asks if he would like to change the martial arts of the avatar. He declines. The nanomachine notifies him that combat is resuming. The Xiaobmeng avatar appears again and asks if he wants to try again. He agrees and prepares to attack using the absolute technique. Xiaobmeng moves to attack him, laughs and questions if he is even prepared. They both exchange attacks with their techniques and power. Yeo-un believes it's working, the final movement, and he attacks Xiaobmeng's nose, but Xiaobmeng moves aside, counterattacks, and throws him away. He attempts to get up and wonders if he is still no match for Sensei, even with the absolute technique. He observes the avatar and notices sword wounds on Sensei's avatar. The final sword swing reaches him as well, but they are all shallow. He concludes that in terms of purely sword technique, he might have surpassed Sensei's avatar, but he was not able to deal a critical blow due to the massive difference in martial prowess. He realizes that he can't face off against a real master just by having gained the absolute technique. He plans to complete the 6 tests of the Demonic Academy within the next 4 years and surpass Sensei. He decides to start with his avatar. The scene shifts to 4 days later at the Demonic Academy's Grand Martial Training Grounds, where all cadets gather. Yeo-un thinks, damn it, he gave it his all yesterday, yet the best he could do was fight on par with 10 Chinmu-Kiam avatars. Rebirthmanga asks if the guys spent their 4-day break well, to which they all respond affirmatively. He continues, stating that as announced 4 days ago, they will explain the 3rd test and distribute the Black Dragon medicine balls. The 3rd test involves 12 people performing a formation. Yeo-un thinks that his intel is true. Rebirthmanga explains that the minimum requirement for being part of a 12-person formation is to possess advanced martial prowess. He points to the books and states that this is the basic requirement for the Sword Demon's sword formation that the main branch prides itself on. Additionally, he mentions that the secret martial arts book for advanced martial arts is the 7 Demon Sword. He mentions that if the guys absorb the medicine balls given out today and work tirelessly to learn the 7 Demon Sword, there should be no problem. Yeo-un thinks that up until here, it does not seem that difficult. Rebirthmanga states that the 3rd test will occur exactly 28 days from today, and each group that forms a formation has to defeat the martial arts instructors standing in front of them right now. He asks if that sounds simple, right? A cadet whispers and asks about defeating the martial arts instructors. Another cadet asks if every instructor is not a martial arts expert. The other cadet mentions that some have even reached the prowess of a master, and he was just thinking it sounded too easy. The other cadet adds that it would be much easier to just fight the other cadets. The other cadet asks how they are supposed to beat the instructor when they have so much real combat experience. Yeo-un thinks everything is going as Yampa said it would, so all that's left is for them to announce the group leader. Rebirthmanga says the entire process will be different from the 2nd test. They will leave everything up to the cadets, so they should do their best to gather group members and learn sword formation. He adds that after he explains the selection process for the group leaders, they will hand out the secret books and medicine balls before dispersing. Yeo-un wonders if they are not selecting by grades. Rebirthmanga asks if he sees the name tags on the instructors in the front row and the 17 martial instructors here, and the students who can take the yellow name tags from them within 7 days will be the group leaders. A cadet wonders if this essentially implies they will be expelled. Another cadet questions whether this signifies that if they fail to secure all the name tags, the number of groups will diminish. The other cadet explains that there are 207 individuals, so with 70 groups of 12 people, 3 individuals are already slated for expulsion. The other cadet murmurs that they are expected to commence by pilfering the instructor's name tags before even confronting the main challenge of defeating the instructor using the sword formation. Rebirthmanga advises against dwelling on it too deeply, mentioning that the instructors with yellow name tags will abstain from utilizing their special techniques and will solely employ the 7 Demon Sword. He asserts that this doesn't resolve their issues and emphasizes that it doesn't alter matters if an expert only employs an advanced martial art. Yeo-un believes he discerns their hidden intentions. To nullify the 7 Demon Swords within a short time, one needs to have a profound understanding of its sword movements. They did not opt for this method simply to raise the difficulty, and 7 days proved to be a significantly short time to learn and nullify the 7 Demon Sword. He speculates they intentionally orchestrated this to instill a sense of crisis in the cadets, inducing desperation as expected. Lee Hwa Myung considers them all bewildered, contemplating whether he should further unsettle them. He mentions he does have 7 days, yet he invites any cadets who wish to challenge them at present. He reflects that he had expected at least one volunteer. If they possessed both guts and skills, it would present a significant opportunity for recognition. Naturally, the opposite effect would occur if they were to lose. He surmises that none of them possess such courage. However, to his surprise, some cadets raise their hands. He observes them and identifies the leaders of Group 1, Chin Mu-yeon, a candidate for the Vice Lord of the Dark Clan, Group 8's leader, Chin Yeo-un, and Cadet 18, Beat-gi, who defeated the Vice Lord candidate of the Poison Clan, Chin Jong-sum, and subsequently assumed leadership of Group 12. He muses on the unexpected volunteers, finding it quite exhilarating. Chin Yeo-un notices Beat-gi and considers him the one who assumed leadership of Group 12 instead of Chin Jong-sum. Observing him from this vantage point, he appears quite fierce. Lee Hwa Myung chuckles and remarks that he appreciates the determination in their eyes. He then asks the instructors which of them would like to engage with the cadets. He spots the instructors and identifies them as the instructors for Groups 1, 8, and 12, recalling his advice to them not to become too attached to their cadets. Senior Officer Martial Instructor Ho Jin Chang steps forward. Lim Pyong, the supervising martial instructor for Group 8 in the second test, believes there's no necessity for him to volunteer since he's in charge. From this point onward, he will have to fend for himself, especially against Chin Yeo-un, as regardless of whom he selects, none of them will take it easy on him. Lee Hwa Myung speculates that each of them had likely intended to confront a cadet from a different group to prevent them from assuming the position of group leader for the time being. He acknowledges that thanks to Ho Jin Chang, the match won't be as unjust. He queries why they don't begin with the leader of Group 1, Cadet Number 1. Yeo-sun, the supervisor instructor for Group 12 in the second test, volunteers to handle it. Ho Jin Chang glares at him angrily, thinking to himself how dare he. Yeo-sun should know that he has a vested interest in this cadet. Yeo-sun feels apologetic, addressing Ho Jin Chang as Sunba Nim, a term for senior colleague or mentor, acknowledging that he knew Ho Jin Chang wouldn't take it easy on him. He believes that Chin Mu-yeon is most suitable to become the next Vice Lord, so he doesn't want him to face humiliation here. Ho Jin Chang declares that he will be the one to challenge Cadet Number 18. Lee Hwa Myung regrets testing Ho Jin Chang's patience, realizing that his own Cadet Number 18 will now face a challenge. He expresses his approval. Sang Moon-yo, the supervisor martial instructor for Group 1 in the second test, believes he was already planning to confront Chin Yeo-un. All instructors and cadets greet each other. Chin Yeo-un instructs Nano not to miss a single second of it. Lee Hwa Myung announces the start. Chin Mu-yeon gets ready to fight and employs the flowing cloud palm technique. Yeo-sun thinks it's as expected, recognizing it as the flowing dark cloud palm, one of the top 3 palm arts in the main branch. He feels it's a pity that Chin Mu-yeon has to use the 7 demon sword instead of his own poison art. Yeo-sun proceeds to attack using the 5th sword technique of the 7 demon sword. Chin Yeo-un observes them and wonders why those sword movements feel so familiar. Hyun Mu-yeon moves his hand to attack, and Yeo-sun thinks it's amazing. Despite his attacks being blocked, he isn't shaken up. Yeo-sun can discern from the Kai being released through his palm techniques that Chin Mu-yeon has fully achieved expert martial prowess. His understanding of techniques far exceeds that of ordinary cadets. Chin Mu-yeon employs the 2nd sword of the 7 demon sword to attack, and Yeo-sun believes that in terms of martial technique, he's already at the level of a clan elder. Using the 3rd sword, Yeo-sun concludes that he will have to stop treating Chin Mu-yeon as a mere cadet. Even though the flowing dark cloud palm is a higher level martial art, Chin Mu-yeon blocks his attack like this, conveying that he is proficient in advanced martial arts. Chin Yeo-un can't believe it. The techniques they form might differ, but the sword movements comprising them are exactly the same as the ones in the destructive sword techniques inscribed on the sapphire. He reflects that the only real difference lies in the fact that the 7 demon sword comprises only 12 sword movements, which is merely half of the 24 sword movements of the destructive sword techniques. He acknowledges there's no way to be certain, but speculates that the sword demon might be the one who left all those countless sword marks. Chin Mu-yeon and Yeo-sun block each other's attacks and then move back. Chin Mu-yeon thinks he's an expert like him but slightly more skilled. Since he can block his palm techniques with only an advanced martial art, Yeo-un assumes he has far more combat experience and supposes he's an instructor for a reason. He contemplates that if he can't bring this match to a close soon, he will be at an even greater disadvantage, but he realizes it can't be helped. Yeo-un observes him and notices a change in his form. He must be planning to settle this fight with his ultimate move. In that case, Yeo-un decides to gather all his kai to block him. He moves to attack, and Yeo-un observes his attack, identifying it as a right palm technique. He decides to block it first. Yeo-un kneels down and switches his hands. Yeo-un notices his left hand and recognizes the same movements as before, but now that it's suddenly inverted, it's difficult to deal with. He decides to seal his left hand. As he tries to seal his hand, Yeo-un attacks his shoulder, causing it to bleed, and he falls to the floor. All the cadets are happy to witness this, with one remarking that he actually defeated an instructor, while another notes that he has already reached expert martial prowess. The other person asserts that he firmly believes the Dark Clan's young master is the one closest to the position of Vice Lord. Mayang thinks, left sword, right palm, right sword, left palm. It's a secret art that allows him to use two special techniques simultaneously, switching from left to right and vice versa at will. It secured the Dark Clan's leader, Mayang, his place as the second best martial artist in the cult. However, Mayang had heard that he was the only one who managed to master it. Yet, here is this guy in front of him. He is a true genius. Yeo-un takes out his name tag, moves to give it to him, and says he has earned the right to become a group leader for the third test. He bows down and expresses his gratitude very much. Yeo-un sees this and contemplates taking their name tag. Something about the wording of that bothers him, especially if one person can only earn one name tag. He and Sang-moon-yo get ready to fight. Yeo-un thinks to put a hold on that thought, as how he performs here will decide his future, and he needs to prove himself in front of everyone. He finds it impressive. Despite facing an instructor, instead of feeling nervous, Yeo-un is all fired up, which honestly surprises him. He had thought he wouldn't even make it past the first test. However, it's time to put an end to his lucky streak, and he's determined to crush him in front of everyone. Sang-moon-yo moves his finger to call him and considers whether it will be the butterfly dance, then states he might take the first move. Yeo-un considers that he may have reached expert prowess, but acknowledges he still lacks compared to a true expert, and letting him have the first strike is proof that he is underestimating him. He believes with the 10-star Kai technique he can finish this in one attack and move to strike. Sang-moon-yo, observing his speed, halts his attack. He reflects on being pushed 5 steps back even after blocking with the 7-star Kai technique, recognizing his great internal energy but acknowledging that his external energy is too powerful. He curses inwardly, resolving not to simply yield to him. Sang-moon-yo blocks the attack and considers that he is being humiliated. He retaliates by attacking and pushing his opponent away. Sang-moon-yo prepares to attack again, reflecting that his Kai is still somewhat inferior to that of a true expert, and questions whether his opponent thinks he can escape. He employs the 7-demon sword technique, utilizing the 4th and 6th sword techniques. Yeo-un believes he can discern it. Even without Nano's assistance, he can perceive that his opponent's sword techniques are unstable. He compares these techniques to the destructive ones on the Sapphire, considering them to be child's play, and moves to counterattack. However, Yeo-un sidesteps and reflects that his opponent has created the opening himself, regarding him as a fool. He plans to finish the fight with his second technique and executes it, shocking everyone who witnesses it. Mayang is incredulous, he can't believe it. He nullified the techniques of the 7 demon swords with just the basic moves of the butterfly dance. Sang-moon-yo becomes angry and thinks, damn it, to be pushed back by this brat's technique. Since it has come to this, he is going to knock him out with the 10-star Kai technique to internally injure him and move to attack him. Mayang observes him and considers it a lethal technique. He finds it crazy. Yeo-un tries to defend himself but is struck by a magic strike, causing him to spit out blood. He reflects on his internal energy. The nano machine notifies that his organs are being damaged from the energy being forcefully injected into his body. Sang-moon-yo blocks his way with magic and calls for Nano's help. The nano machine notifies that the damaged organs are quickly regenerating, activating the regeneration process. It asks why. Sang Moon-yo wonders, how can this be? He is sure he is sustaining internal injuries, so why he is not falling down? Yeo-un moves to attack him and lands a hit. He believes he just needs to withstand it with his Kai armor, but Yeo-un strikes his ribs and breaks them. Sang Moon-yo spits out blood, shocking everyone who sees it. He grabs his shoulder and calls him a monster before falling unconscious to the ground. Sword Clan's Chin Yu-chan witnesses this and thinks Yumpa was not exaggerating. Sang Moon-yo might become a problem, especially with the seven-demon sword created by the other legend of the demonic cult. Lightnovel reflects that while it is a collection of plain sword movements, their countless combinations make it a very difficult move to nullify. Yet he managed to do just that, indicating that he is beyond excellent. He is a martial arts genius. He berates himself, thinking he should not have allowed that drunken rascal to get the better of him. He instructs the academy director that they will need to carry instructor Sang to the infirmary. An instructor checks Sang Moon-yo and reports that his ribs are broken and 3 bones are poking out. Lightnovel realizes he forgot to inform the instructors that Cadet 7 had punched through the fortified walls. If Sang Moon-yo had braced himself knowing that, he probably would not have lost so severely. He orders them to take him to the infirmary immediately. Yeo-un takes his name tag and reflects that he has succeeded. Lim Pyeon considers that the cadets might start to underestimate them if they keep losing, having already lost twice. Ho Jin Chang notices them gossiping and believes that with skills and talent, it should be possible for one to surpass their instructor. Instead of being happy for the next generation, they are preoccupied with worrying about saving face. He acknowledges that he is in no position to lecture them, and in getting caught up in the moment and picking Cadet 18, he fails to notice such a talented individual, giving him another regret. Lightnovel announces that they will now have the final duel. Beak Gi and Ho Jin Chang move forward for the duel, prompting whispers among the onlookers. Yeo-sun whispers, "Please, let them save face." Lim Pyeon remarks that he can't even imagine him losing, but another cadet reassures him, saying not to worry because it's not just anyone. It's instructor Ho Jin Chang, their senior officer, and upsets could happen again. Another cadet chimes in, stating there's no rule preventing him from winning since he volunteered. He could have been hiding his skills until now, like Cadet 7. Beak Gi acknowledges that he may be lacking, but asks for Ho Jin Chang's guidance. Ho Jin Chang praises Beak Gi's humility and suggests they both try their best, ready to attack. Beak Gi observes his opponent's moves and thinks about the overwhelming presence. He wonders if this is the same person who was smiling just a moment ago, but resolves not to leave behind any regrets and moves to attack. He jumps forward to initiate the attack. Yeo-un tracks his movements using the nanomachine and considers a kicking technique. He continues to gather more training avatars, particularly noting Chin Moo-yeon's performance of various techniques with both hands, finding it very interesting. It's only a fraction of his techniques, so he's unsure if it will analyze properly, but it could be useful in the future if he ever has to face Chin Moo-yeon. Beak Gi swiftly moves, attacking him and noticing that his opponent easily avoids all attacks by simply moving his torso. Ho Jai Chang observes the moves and points out that his opponent's back foot is wide open. Beak Gi jumps onto his hands and takes a long leap, flipping to attack, but his attack is stopped with power. The cadets are shocked to see this, exclaiming that it is connected. Ho Jai Chang attacks his foot, causing it to start bleeding. He examines his foot and wonders if it is a Kai blade. Falling behind, he considers that to have created a Kai blade so quickly, his opponent must be a master. Ho Jai Chang reflects that he has only used a simple sword movement and hasn't even utilized any techniques from the 7 demon swords yet. He mentions his specialization in kicking techniques, but acknowledges that he can't use his right foot now, questioning what he will do. He thinks his opponent is much stronger than the previous instructors. Beak Gi stands up with his broken foot, ready to fight again, and reflects that with this much skill difference, it might be a stretch, but he needs to try and finish this match with one technique. He acknowledges that his opponent has quite the fighting spirit. Beak Gi quickly runs and jumps to attack. He reflects that even with an injured foot, his opponent is not backing down and is quite the determined young man. He attempts to attack, but Beak Gi bends down and aims for his legs. He realizes that this kid has also achieved expert prowess and uses his power to counterattack. Beak Gi considers an afterimage technique, and his opponent falls for it. He remarks that his opponent was not too bad, expressing regret, and launches an attack that hits hard, throwing his opponent away. The cadets are shocked to see this, and one of them says no, he lost. Another cadet comments on how he went down after just a few techniques, emphasizing that it is no easy task to face an instructor. Another cadet mentions that Cadet 1 and Cadet 7 were just monsters. Beak-gi spits out blood and acknowledges his loss, realizing that if he had not gone easy on his opponent and had used a kai blade, it would have pierced his heart. Yeo-un observes this and thinks that Beak-gi was just unlucky. If he had faced an instructor who was not a master, he might have had a chance. He speculates that the other instructors are probably glad that Beak-gi lost. Ho Jai-chang remarks that if Beak-gi can connect his feint and his technique more smoothly, he should be able to confuse his opponent even more, expressing anticipation for his progress. Beak-gi thanks him for his guidance and walks out from there, coughing. Yeo-un scrutinizes him closely and notices that his complexion is unusually pale and his neck is also tinted red. He instructs Nano to please conduct an in-depth scan on Cadet 18 and have the results ready so he can review them after the third test announcement is over. The nanomachine acknowledges that it has understood. Two instructors open two big boxes full of weapons. Rebirthmanga announces that they will also be handing out wooden swords for the third test, with one sword per person, so they should be careful not to break them. He states that if anyone can take a yellow name tag within 7 days, they will become a group leader. He asks if this is understood, to which all the cadets respond motto. Yeo-un holds his sword and a box, thinking that he should first consume the Black Dragon medicine ball, and then he has something else to check. A group of cadets surrounds him. Hyo-bong asks what business he has with his liege, as he considers addressing him as a liege. The scene shifts to the previous night in Group 8's dormitory. Woon-chun suggests that they have entertained the thought that they might be able to change their status and asks if they do not think it's too dangerous of a gamble, and if they are not afraid of the 6 main clans. Hyo-bong admits that he is indeed afraid, but if he is fated to always be looked down on as a small clan lackey, he will gladly risk it all, especially if it's with his liege. There might be hope for people like them. Woon-chun inquires if he truly trusts him, to which Hyo-bong confirms that he does. Woon-chun decides that they will partake in the gamble together, and they, Ma-chil, Woon-chun, and Ho-di-myung, will swear their loyalty to their liege, Yeo-un. They are in his hands. The scene shifts to the present. Yeo-un says it's okay, he can step aside. Go Wang-ho remarks that it was a pleasure seeing his great martial performance. He introduces himself as Cadet 857, Go Wang-ho. Yeo-un thanks him and introduces himself as Yeo-un. Go Wang-ho quickly gets to the point, expressing his desire to become a member of Yeo-un's group and asking if he wants to join his group. Woon-chun whispers that the sooner they gather up members, the more time they will have to practice. Ho-di-myung adds that since they are 7 people short, they will have to reject 9 of them. Ma-chil comments, as expected of their liege. Go Wang-ho explains that he is from the Dark Fist clan, an elite clan, and emphasizes that as a group member, he should not be a nuisance. Hak Hyun states that he is Cadet 920 from the Dark Horse clan. He introduces himself and explains that he is still only at intermediate prowess, but once he consumes this medicine ball, he will reach advanced prowess. He promises not to hold back. One-il raises his hand and introduces himself as One-il, Cadet 97 from the Gentle Sword clan. He mentions that he has also reached advanced prowess, so he knows he can be of use to the young master. Ya-woo-min raises his hand and requests to be heard as well. He introduces himself as Ya-woo-min from the Golden Gate clan. He admits that he might lack internal energy, but he possesses advanced spearmanship. A cadet whispers that 5 out of the 16 people here are from elite clans. The others remark that 11 people need to compete for 2 spots, expressing their dislike for individuals from elite clans. Yeo-un thanks them all for asking to be part of his group, but states that he needs to say something first. He explains that he is simply looking for people to pass the third test with. He emphasizes that when he leaves the Demonic Academy and sets off on the harsh path laid out by the main branch, he is looking for comrades who will stick with him through thick and thin. A cadet whispers, pondering what they should do. The other cadet remarks that he does not wish to become entangled in the Battle of the Heirs. Yeo-un observes that they exhibit the expected fearfulness and asserts that he does not care whether one comes from an elite clan or a small one, as long as they desire to join forces with him. He emphasizes that, by the journey's end, the current status quo will become irrelevant, and he intends to overhaul the 6 foundations of the main branch. Hak Hyung wonders if this individual is mentally stable and whether he might be a candidate for Vice Lord, but questions if he possesses the means for it. He muses that this is not essentially a declaration of war and expresses frustration, yet acknowledges that they may need to await a different group leader. Yeo-un entreats them to become his comrades on this journey and to form a new foundation for the heavenly demonic cult. This, he asserts, is his desire for his group members. Everyone is shocked to hear this. Hak Hyung apologizes, stating that he simply wants a leader to pass the 3rd test. The other cadet expresses disappointment, mentioning that he had hoped to be a part of the young master's group, but it seems it was not meant to be. He expresses his regret. Hyo-bong considers this situation to be unfortunate. Perhaps they should have been informed after being accepted. He notices Go Wang-gul, Ya-woo-min, and Oh-jong. Go Wang-hul tells Yeo-un that he has also observed the other Vice Lord candidates, and there is something different about him. He remarks that the journey he has described is exceedingly perilous, potentially leading both him and all his comrades to their graves. To be frank, he admits that he too is considering giving up on it. Yeo-un reflects that he is not surprised, considering that Go Wang-gul is from an elite clan. He has the option to support a better candidate. He expresses that like any other martial artist, he dreams of power and glory. Hearing his ambition as a martial artist has only drawn him closer. He kneels down and swears his loyalty to young master Yeo-un. He acknowledges that he may still be lacking, but he pledges never to kneel to anyone except him. He requests to be utilized as Yeo-un's first sword. All others also kneel down. Ya-woo-min declares his loyalty as a member of the Golden Gate clan. Oh-jong similarly pledges loyalty as a member of the Treasure Sword clan. Yeo-un smiles and thanks them. Hyo-bong asserts that he doesn't care about titles, he is his liege's foremost subordinate. Go Wang-hul chuckles and questions if that is indeed the case. After a while, at the entrance of the Demonic Academy's individual training facility, Yeo-un gathers the cadets. He announces that today, he wants them to absorb the medicine ball and memorize the entire text of the 7 Demon Sword. He confirms this plan and adds that starting tomorrow morning, they will train together, and he will personally inspect their movements and techniques. They believe they made the right choice in selecting him as their leader and appreciate the care he shows them. Yeo-un resolves to instill knowledge in them until they learn, much like how his sensei did it. He instructs them to proceed to their individual training rooms and suggests regrouping around 10 o'clock at night after they have consumed the medicine balls. They all agree with enthusiasm. After a while, Yeo-un walks into the lobby and Go Wang-hul calls out to him from behind. He turns back and asks if there is something Go Wang-hul wants to say. Go Wang-hul expresses his concern that he might be worrying about nothing, but he believes that from now on, Yeo-un should always have him or another subordinate accompany him at all times. He explains that he is troubled by how they were instructed to take the yellow name tags from the instructors. Yeo-un reflects that now that he thinks about it, the academy director himself mentioned that whoever could take the yellow name tags within 7 days would become a group leader. He speculates that the real objective is not to make them defeat the instructors, but instead to make the cadets take the name tags from each other. He mentions that since his liege has significantly fewer men than Cadet 1 from the Dark Clan, he might become a target, so it wouldn't be bad to be cautious. Yeo-un expresses his appreciation for the advice. Go Wang-hul replies that it's only natural, as he swore to serve Yeo-un as his liege, and he shall use the training room next to him. However, Yeo-un explains that's not where he is headed. Due to certain reasons, he is now using the training rooms over there. Go Wang-hul asks if that place is not only permitted for cadets who have reached expert prowess. He adds that he will try his best to reach expert prowess as soon as possible so that he can use the same training facility as his liege. Yeo-un acknowledges this with an alright. After a while, Yeo-un engages in practice and reflects on the experience, realizing what it's like to be a true expert. He acknowledges that he has surpassed 60 years of Kai, and if he imbues a blade or a sword with this, he should be able to form a proper Kai weapon. He expresses gratitude, thanking Nano for helping him absorb it. Nano responds affirmatively, acknowledging its role in the process. Yeo-un questions if there is no concept of humility in the future. Nano assures him that humility exists. Shin Yeo-un accepts this and requests to see the video of Beak Gi's earlier fight. Nano acknowledges the request and informs that augmented reality will be enabled in the user's vision to replay the video. Shin Yeo-un watches the duel video and instructs to pause and zoom in on Beak Gi. Nano complies, zooming in on the target. Shin Yeo-un further directs to zoom in closer on the face and neck. Nano follows the instruction, zooming in on the target. Shin Yeo-un notices Beak Gi's ghastly pale face, extremely bloodshot eyes, and red spots on his neck, confirming his suspicions. After a while, martial instructor Hong Du-wai and sword clan's Chin Yu-chan engage in practice. Hong Du-wai observes that Chin Yu-chan has also surpassed the skills of a cadet. He is a true expert like himself. He realizes that he can't defeat Chin Yu-chan by only using the Seven Demon Sword. He notes that Chin Yu-chan is not fully nullifying the movements like Cadet Sieve, but he is properly taking advantage of the blind spots within the techniques. He reflects that he was skeptical when Chin Yu-chan arrived with such confidence in 4 hours, but to have analyzed the Seven Demon Sword in such a short time impresses him. He considers Chin Yu-chan to be a genius rivaling the other two, the Blade Clan's Vice Lord candidate, Cadet 5. Hong Du-wai decides that dueling any further would be pointless, so they can stop there. Chin Yu-chan asks what that means. Hong Du-wai removes his name tag and declares that he will give it to Chin Yu-chan. He instructs Chin Yu-chan to gather his group members, expecting great results from him. Chin Yu-chan expresses his gratitude and holds the name tag, laughing as he remarks, "That's one." He then asks who he should go for next. Meanwhile, at the Demonic Academy restaurant, Beak Gi sits eating his food. Sword Clan Vice Lord Candidate Cadet 2, Chin Kyung-woon, approaches him and remarks that he enjoyed Beak Gi's duel against the instructor earlier. Beak Gi places the chopsticks on the bowl and tells Chin Kyung-woon that he is eating and not to disturb him. He thinks to himself what a rude fellow Chin Kyung-woon is and decides to cut to the chase. He tells Chin Kyung-woon that he was impressed by his skills. He seems to be a new expert and appears to desire the role of group leader. He asks if Chin Kyung-woon does not wish to climb higher than that. Beak Gi starts eating rice, trying to remain calm despite his anger towards Chin Kyung-woon. He realizes that if he gets angry here, it will ruin his plan of gathering talented individuals. He acknowledges that it will be a great opportunity for Chin Kyung-woon. Beak Gi reflects that this is the second time someone has approached him with such a proposition. The Blade Clan rascal had been too flippant, asking him to be his right-hand man. He honestly admits to himself that he is not interested in being a group leader or climbing higher, nor does he want to be under someone else. His only goal is to become stronger. Just then, Shin Yeo-un arrives and apologizes for interrupting him while he eats, but asks if he could talk with him for a moment. Beak Gi replies that he is not interested and tells Shin Yeo-un to scram. Shin Yeo-un insists that if they don't talk now, he might die later. Beak Gi asks what he means and is surprised to see Shin Yeo-un in front of him. He remarks that Shin Yeo-un is not even a candidate from the 6 main clans, yet his arrogance supersedes the 2 guys from earlier. He questions if Shin Yeo-un really thinks he could recruit someone like him. Shin Yeo-un tries to clarify that there's a misunderstanding. Beak Gi angrily questions this, stating that Shin Yeo-un threatened him, yet now wants to call it a misunderstanding. Shin Yeo-un explains that he did not mean it like that and gets straight to the point, saying it appears to him that Beak Gi has been poisoned. Beak Gi is shocked to hear this and asks what nonsense that is. Shin Yeo-un mentions that he observed Beak Gi during the earlier duel and noticed that his face was as pale as white, with red spots on his neck. He wonders how this could have happened, especially since he has been vigilant about Shin Jong-sum since being assigned to Group 12. Additionally, he questions why he is even telling him this. Even if Beak Gi has been poisoned, it should not be his concern. Shin Yeo-un apologizes for the misunderstanding, but suggests that if Beak Gi has been poisoned, he should have noticed it during Kai meditation. He asks Beak Gi if he feels fine even during Kai meditation. Shin Yeo-un considers whether Kai meditation allows one to sense poison, realizing that Beak Gi may not know this due to a lack of knowledge in martial arts, but those symptoms are definitely indicative of micro-poison. Just then, he notices Dr. Beak passing by. He calls out to him while putting some rice in his bowl. He remarks that it's been a while, although it hasn't been that long, and says it's good to see him. He asks if Dr. Beak has eaten yet. Shin Yeo-un responds that he hasn't eaten yet. Dr. Beak expresses relief, mentioning that he didn't want to eat alone. Chin Yeo-un points to Beak Gi and apologizes, asking if Dr. Beak could perform a checkup on his friend as he believes he's been poisoned. Dr. Beak asks for clarification on what. After a while, at the Demonic Academy's second-floor infirmary, Dr. Beak Jong-myung holds a plate with medicine and instructs Beak Gi to inhale the smoke by breathing through his mouth. Beak Gi asks about inhaling with his mouth. Dr. Beak Jong-myung clarified to just inhale it deeply. Beak Gi begins to inhale and indicates that he understands. Suddenly, he starts coughing and vomits. Dr. Beak Jong-myung confirms that it's definitely micro-poison. Beak Gi asks what that means. Beak Jong-myung asserts that he is sure Beak Gi has been poisoned. Beak Gi expresses confusion, mentioning that he has been fine during Kai meditation, hasn't come into contact with any poison, and always eats alone. Beak Jong-myung explains that micro-poisons are a bit different. They do not flow through the veins, but instead accumulate in the lungs or stomach. He explains that it can be administered by putting it in food or by crushing it into a fine powder and making someone inhale it while they sleep. He adds that in small doses, it's hard to notice that one has inhaled it while sleeping, and he questions if Beak Gi is perhaps sharing a dorm with a poison user. The scene shifts to Demonic Academy during the first night, in Group 12's dorms. A cadet tells another to get a hold of himself. The other cadet retorts, asking how dare he, especially since he is only from the Gentle Kick clan. Another cadet questions if he thinks he will be safe after attacking Chin Jong-sum of the Poison clan. Beak Gi cleans the blood from his face and asks if it matters who he is or where he comes from. He asserts that at Demonic Academy, strength is everything, and now that he has won, he will be in charge of Group 12. Chin Jong-sum remarks that Beak Gi is so full of himself and advises him to enjoy his victory for now, but warns that the claws of the Poison clan are like poison liquor and grow stronger over time. The scene shifts back to the present, and Beak Gi reflects that this is what Chin Jong-sum meant back then. Beak Jong-myung expresses his relief that they discovered it so soon, stating that if Beak Gi takes an antidote for 7 days, he will be as good as new. Chin Yeo-un asks if it isn't quite serious if red spots are appearing on Beak Gi's neck. Beak Jong-myung explains that indeed it is serious, but Beak Gi mentioned getting hit on the chest during his duel, so the symptoms became pronounced for a moment due to lung stimulation. He adds that if the symptoms were present all the time, not even a godly doctor could save him. Chin Yeo-un inquires how Beak Jong-myung knows so much about this poison. Beak Jong-myung reveals that his mother passed away from being poisoned with micro-poison, and he himself was poisoned by it for a while as well. Beak Gi apologizes, admitting that he hasn't shown his gratitude yet, but acknowledges that Beak Jong-myung saved his life and thanks him sincerely. Beak Jong-myung reassures him, saying it's fine and not to worry about it. Beak Jong-myung recalls his sensei telling him about this. Chin Yeo-un explains that he simply didn't want anyone to die from such a cowardly poison and mentions that he has been searching for the source of that poison. He wonders about the intense bloodthirst he feels. Beak Jong-myung suggests that Beak Gi rest in the infirmary for today, as returning to the dorms might lead to another poisoning. He points out that Beak Gi wasn't planning on seeking revenge right away, and he even has a foot injury. However, Beak Gi declines, saying no. Chin Yeo-un insists that cleansing the poison should be the priority, so Beak Gi should get some rest as the doctor ordered. He assures Beak Gi that he can leave Chin Jong-sum to him. Beak Jong-myung asks what Chin Yeo-un is planning. Chin Yeo-un explains that he believes they need to talk this out. He recalls Chin Moo-kiam mentioning that he would be able to find the person he was looking for in the forest near the 5th dorm. Chin Yeo-un adds that if what Chin Moo-kiam is saying is true, he will let him have the spot next to him. Beak Jong-myung and Beak Gi express surprise. Beak Gi insists that's not possible, there's no way. Chin Moo-kiam sits behind the curtain and silently hopes that Beak Gi and the crazy man from the Poison clan will fight each other to the death, and actually, he hopes Beak Gi dies. He confirms to himself that it's him. He looks him in the eyes. Beak Gi pleads for him to calm down. Meanwhile, Chin Jong-sum walks in the forest holding a light. He remarks that because the instructor stays in the 5th dorm, there really is no one else around, making it the perfect place to collect poisonous plants. He reflects that thanks to the medicine ball, he now has the internal energy of a new expert. He believes that if he works hard for just a few more days, he will achieve the 5th level of the poison of destruction. He notes that up until the 4th level, it was all basic techniques, but starting from the 5th level, it becomes deadlier thanks to the poison techniques. He then thinks that without even using something like micro-poisons, he will be able to make that cocky beak gi kneel in front of him. He laughs and remarks that he will kill him with his own hands before the micro-poison makes him. Yeo-un arrives and asks what has made him so happy. Startled, he turns